Greetings everyone, welcome to my sketchbook. Hey, you know what today is? Let's see if I can do this here. Goes a little something like this. Simple enough little tune. You probably hear it in hockey games and whatnot. If you actually want to see cool Canadian stuff and you live in Canada, I'd start off by doing something like this. Well, you're not going to see this so much anymore, but this is a penny with a maple leaf on it. This is a 5-cent piece with a beaver on it. 10-cent piece. This has the blue nose on it, a schooner. 25-cent piece. This has a caribou on it. $1 coin has a loon on it. This is the loony. And a $2 coin. This has polar bear. And on the other side, of course, this is the king. Greatest landowner of Canada. So lots of crown lands. This is Charles III. Previous monarch, of course, was his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. What can I say about cool Canadian things? Now, last few videos I would have drawn related to Supergirl. Of course, I would have shown you this, which is a co-creation of Superman. Jerry Siegel, who I believe was from Ohio, and Joel Schuster, who was born in Toronto. Yeah, kind of a cool thing. Anyway, I'm not going to draw anything related to Superman. I think this morning I'm just going to draw something related to Canada Day. It is Canada Day here, July the 1st. And yeah, let's see if we can kind of come up with something kind of Canadian. So, let's see what happens. We'll zoom in. Actually, that's probably too much. Let's go out just a little bit. Let's go to there. All right. Well, the thing that I'm going to kind of reference is this. This is the beaver, of course. It's a rodent. It's a strange and wonderful creature. I'm just going to kind of rough it out a little bit here. Let it be a little messy. It's probably known for lots of things, being a hardworking creature. It's also responsible for stopping water flow. Some people don't like them very much for that reason. Their homes are called dams. Just like, whatever you use an industrial sort of usage of blocking water and flooding lands and things like that. I'm not saying they got the idea from these creatures, but they are remarkable creatures. Now, this is, of course, not going to be an actual true version of it. I think this is just meant to be kind of a fun thing. I'm not making excuses for doing a terrible job of something. I just think, well, I don't have to make it exactly like a beaver if I don't want. And I'm not really using any real references. I mean, yeah, I have the 5-cent piece there, but that's I'm going to try to use my imagination. There's lots of cool Canadian things and cool Canadian people, and I think it's an awesome thing to be a Canadian and something that you should be proud of. Yes, we have ties to the royal family of England. King Charles is actually the King of Canada. And I think because we vote for a prime minister, we kind of forget these things. Now, you might say, oh, a constitutional monarchy, all this kind of stuff, we still have a king. yes, we have a prime minister. The day-to-day things are run by uh, some sort of democratic process. In truth, and this is going to sound miserable, maybe. Um, Politics is kind of theater. And no matter who's in power, it's still kind of the will of the king that stuff goes on, which is kind of funny to say that. Uh, so I've been trying to think of what kind of things are important in the minds of Canadians that could be, well, that I picture even as being very Canadian. And so I'm drawing this beaver. Now, beavers, in a way, oh no, maybe this is not going to be a good thing that I'm going to say. In North America, we don't really have, simians, apes, that sort of thing, unless you consider the Wendigo or Bigfoot to be some version of a primate. So we have rodents, and the rodents that we have here in Canada, they can burrow, which means they dig underground or they build cool stuff like this. Uh, Rodents have almost a version of an opposable thumb, so they can grip things. If you've ever seen videos of raccoons, for example, enjoying life, uh, wanting to eat some cotton candy, it's kind of the funniest and saddest little videos of watching a creature try to wash their food and then have it disappear. So you can find it. Now I'm drawing a version of a hockey stick, which is a beloved game, especially in places where there's snow. Now, of course, they've moved to other places where they don't see snow, but you can find hockey um, being played all over the world. Much like basketball, which is kind of, but not really, a Canadian invention. I mean, I guess you could say the person, James Naismith, being a Canadian, uh, makes it a Canadian invention, but, wasn't teaching in Canada when this whole thing went down. Anyway, peach baskets and whatnot. There's a lot of things that I kind of remember just from like Canadian Heritage Moment commercials on TV. So I think that's funny. One of the greatest things in my mind about Canadian sort of lore is that somehow Canadians are kind and courteous. And that's a standard that's fun to live up to. Canadians are also remarkably tough, though. It is said that, especially in World War One, that Canadians were referred to as stormtroopers, just like the toughest and most resilient soldiers. Let's see. trying to figure out something with this creature. And much like cats and dogs and other such animals, they have pretty big feet. I'm trying to think of other things that I would say are Canadian. I like the concept of a movable goalpost, which I think is a kind of a Canadian thing too. The idea that you have something that would be fixed. If you ran into it, you would get hurt really bad. Not so great. Now the beaver's tail, kind of a flat thing, but we like to add some curve to it, I guess, when we're drawing it. Is it weird that people like to taxidermy these things? I don't know. You can find a food called a beaver tail. I don't know if people really will eat beaver tail, like from the animal itself. I know that their pelts had a value when it came to making hats and other such clothing, like their fur. But I don't know if the beaver tail is actually eaten. I would think probably. I think people try to not waste too much of the animal if they were eating it at one point, but I don't think I've seen it on a menu, so. Getting back to the idea of a movable goalpost, I think some of the funnest stuff, if it's not wintertime, is to play some ball hockey. Now, I know somebody who plays ball hockey, plays in net actually, and was on like I guess part of a tournament, which I think is pretty cool. I think that took place in PEI a couple of weeks ago, maybe. So that's awesome. So Tiffany, I don't know when the next time you're heading over there, but it's got to be pretty fun. Good old PEI. Now, I've seen beavers in person. This is you'd think it would be a tiny creature. These are pretty big. Okay. Now, let's see. We'll have a little tongue hiding in here, maybe. And we'll do maybe a little bit of a turn in the mouth, just a little bit. So we don't want this to be too frantic. Back to movable goalposts and ball hockey. If you're playing on a street in a neighborhood and you're using up the street, you want to make sure that the goals that you mark can get out of the way. So one of the most common things is to watch out for each other. And let them know that something is approaching from behind. By the way, you really only need one exclamation point, but this is something that I believe puts emphasis on the word in use. Sort of like, when you have all caps, you know that something is being shouted. So, for those of you, when you think of what Canada is, you might say, well, part of being a Canadian has got to be, that health care. It's got to be part of two official languages. It's got to be beautiful nature, friendly, unnecessarily apologetic people. It can be all those things, of course. Here, let's put in a little maple leaf. So, however you celebrate Canada Day, even if you're not from Canada, yeah, it's a day just to say, well, Canada does some pretty cool stuff, has some pretty cool stuff, and yeah, have a great Canada Day. Last thing I'm doing here is just kind of like some image cleanup. Got that cool split nose looking kind of thing going on. I don't think they have eyebrows as much as they have brows. I think they are expressive enough. I've never heard one of these creatures laugh or wear hockey jerseys. So, taking some liberties here. Just from the shape of the head, I don't think it's worthwhile putting a hat on. Although, let's put down here a ball. So we know that we're playing ball hockey. Okay. That's funny. My buddies and I, whenever it was nice enough to throw a football, we would get together on Saturday mornings to play some peg football. And it grew to such a size that we could have even set up like two separate games. And it didn't become a league or anything like that, but it was pretty fun. And somehow we would stay out there for hours. And we had we had different people that would show up, and some of us were told by the spouses of some of these uh, older dudes, which were only probably at that point in their 30s or maybe even early 40s, but anyway, to take it easy on them because they'd be ruined for the next day or whatnot. It'd be like none of us forced these guys and stuff to run the way they did. I can tell you, it was a guy who's now in his 50s. I understand where they're coming from. Now, I have the ability to still move, and so that's good. But when I was a kid, I don't know if I really understood what a sore back was. I mean, I understood what bits and pieces of pain were, of course, but I mean, I didn't wake up with a sore back the same way as like now if I just sleep funny and then, um, well, you know what's going to happen here, by the way. Ta-da! Yeah, I didn't wake up with a sore back. That's wild. So for those of you who are a little bit older, do you recall certain games that you played with ease? Let me know what those games were. You know, did you play soccer or lacrosse, which is actually related to this game? I'm almost done here. But I played ice hockey when I was younger. That was pretty fun. I played defense. It's a strange game. Put some metal blades on your feet and move along the ice at terrific speed. What a tremendous thing that is. Let's go with a little piece of the tape just kind of hanging off there a little bit. And my understanding is that here in Canada, the CBC, which is a Canadian broadcast company, will no longer be broadcasting Hockey Night in Canada, which I think is a shame, truth be told. Now, I don't know if that's just because of the cost of having that on there and not getting the advertisers and the viewership. I don't really know. For the longest time, it was considered that Hockey Night in Canada, the main theme song, which was off the top of my head, I can't come up with who wrote it, but it was performed by a group called the Canadian Brass. Anyway, that was kind of considered the secondary uh, anthem here in Canada. So unfortunately, the home of Hockey Night in Canada will no longer be the CBC, which is a shame. For some reason, they like to cross-hatch these tails, although I don't think it's necessary to do that. But I'm going to anyway. Imagine that the tail is more along the lines of just being like beads stacked. I mean, it is flesh, leather. Anyway. So yeah, depending on where you are, you would have this being screamed at some point on some neighborhood street. They could be saying, voiture! But I'm sure in any other language, car works just fine. L'automobile. Hey. I guess you could play other games in the street too. Just have to be careful. Look out for each other. Make sure that if you're driving down the street, look out for these games going on. It's summertime. Our little friends are not in school and they're out doing stuff. Well, I guess some are in summer school. Some are in summer school. That's it. I've taken enough of this. Happy Canada Day, everybody. Happy Canada Day. Hopefully we'll see you again. All right. Ciao for now.